I'm Alex Page. I'm the Canopy Certified Program Specialist. And you might have seen me on a couple of the Canopy cafes if you tune in on Facebook a lot. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about our 27 Challenge and Learning campaign and the impact report that we created from that. So as you guys know and have heard, the 27 campaign is a way for Kentucky businesses to acknowledge that systemic racism is a problem and that for-profit businesses need to address by creating a public statement, examining and updating internal policies and procedures, and supporting Black-owned businesses by donating to Canopy's Sustainable 27 Fund. So out of all this, we wanted to create an impact report dedicated to, the impact that both the 27 Fund and the 27 Days of Learning have had. So at Canopy, we're big believers in impact reports because it's a great way to celebrate and publish the good that you've done for the community and stands as a nice gift at the end of a campaign that a lot of hard work has gone into. So to start, wonderful, we have the presentation. Maybe go back a couple of slides if you can, Vincelli. Wonderful, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna begin with the learning piece of our campaign. So this is where we had content creation for the 27 Days of Learning content. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Canopy provided 27 days of learning via social media and blog posts alongside facilitating forums and bringing on guest speakers to Canopy cafes. This allowed us to touch on a wide range of topics, all in support of creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workspace. So in our 27 days of posting content, we had 7 Canopy cafes on Facebook and YouTube with guests like Rashad Abdur-Rahman, Dion Stokes, Letty Johnson, and many more. We also had 8 different blog posts that served as extensions or elaborations on our social posts. So these explored topics like creating statements, employee activism, Juneteenth, and even environmental justice. So with this, you can go ahead and click to the next slide. We reached 38,000 people. So 1 learning guide, 249 posts across platforms, 983 Canopy Cafe views. All together, we've reached 38,000 people, which is a tremendous win for us. We never knew the reach of this campaign. We went into it just wanting to have an impact in this space and to respond what was going on in our community. But it's awesome to see that so many people got to view our content. So now I'll move on to all of the companies that were involved on the other leg of it. So this is the 27 Fund and Challenge. So we had 26 committed companies, which included 580 employees from all of these companies. So what was this challenge, you ask, or what did these companies commit to? If you want to go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about the challenge. So first, they had to create a public statement in response to racial justice. And this was a necessary step because the sooner companies get the word out about their values regarding a social issue, the better. Second, they had to review and create new policies around diversity, equity, and inclusion in order to better support their Black employees. And then third, they had to donate to the 27 Fund in support of Black-owned businesses. So it was a pretty big deal that we had this many companies and employees willing to jump on this campaign and do this racial justice work in their workplace. There are also some companies that went above and beyond with fulfilling their goals. So at Canopy, we have 3 ways that we like to measure impact. And we even have these ways of measuring impact in our Canopy certified program. But we wanted to transfer that model over to this and use it in our impact report. So the first is through programming. And this is like creating programs to accomplish a goal. So some examples of companies that created programs for the 27 campaign, or actually these are programs that happened all year long in support of racial justice. So first, Louisville Salt Cave had a free health summit, which is a really cool thing that they did, as well as Field Trip created a Black Lives Matter poster design challenge. Print My Threads had a t-shirt campaign for the Ashland for Change March. And then 1020 Brewery's Community Hour used social media to support Black artists. So these are all examples of programs that these companies who were a part of the 27 campaign also did alongside that. So some metrics with this include like $2,500 was spent on programs, and 1,054 were donated through in-kind services. Another way that Canopy likes to measure impact is through philanthropic gifts. So the gifts that we wanted to highlight were that there were more than $550 made in donations to the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as the bail funds for Louisville, which is just awesome that we got to be able to collect that data and hear about that and include that in this report. The third way that Canopy likes to measure impact is through volunteering. So with this campaign, we had companies like Bluestone Productions, the Oliver Group, and Print My Threads participate in volunteer initiatives with Dare to Care, local protests, GLI, and working on voting rights. So finally, an exemplary way actually for companies to create impact is through nonprofit and for-profit partnerships. So with this campaign, we had a lot of great partnerships that formed, including places like Ashland for Change, Ashland NAACP, Dare to Care, Louisville Urban League, Organic Health Investments, Racial Healing Project, and the Simmons College. So these are just all the different ways we wanted to measure impact and gather data about how companies were fulfilling their racial justice goals. So now I'm going to talk about a few testimonials that some of our companies had. So the first one is with Print My Threads, who is one of our friends over in Ashland, Kentucky. And they actually said that as a small business owner without an HR department, it can be super difficult when trying to navigate issues such as race, diversity, and equity in the workplace. So while these topics are super important to building out a safe, just, and inclusive culture at Print My Threads, we really lacked any kind of roadmap for how to do that. So Canopy's 27 Days of Learning has provided us that roadmap and given us a clear how-to guide for those actions that we need to take, the issues we need to address, and the conversations we need to have. So I would assume that Kyle, who is a good friend of Canopy's, probably wrote that, which is really cool to hear that Print My Threads had that testimonial. Another one is from All Trade Property Management, which is actually here out of Louisville, I believe. I know they operate in Louisville. And their testimonial, they were also part of the 27 campaign and the 27 fund. They said that one of the most valuable things about the 27 campaign for our company is that it has provided us a wealth of resources and some actionable steps for how we can take our existing community-oriented mentality and revive it in new ways to be more intentional about how we actively engage in conversations about racial justice and equity. And this is both internally with their staff and also externally with their community partnerships and stakeholder relationships. And then finally, the Louisville Salt Cave was another 27 company, and their testimonial was that being a part of Canopy's 27 campaign allowed us to recognize where we can offer more. So the opportunities for leadership education and internal DE&I statements are our first priority, and then moving toward employee activism and community involvement. So our values are rooted in community and prevention, and we recognize it is impossible to heal wholly on an individual basis. We're grateful for Canopy's leadership for continued growth in the area of racial equity and good business. So those are all great testimonials from the companies that were participating in the 27 fund, and those are also included in our impact report. But finally, for the fun part, or I don't know if it's the fun part, but it's the most exciting, it's the actual dollar amount attached to our 27 fund. So we had $26,000 in company commitments, and then $22,000 in matching commitments, as well as over $800 in individual donations. So that's all rounding out to around $48,885. And we really couldn't have done this without all the companies that joined in and decided to be a part of this campaign. So I really just want to say thank you to everyone who was involved. And hopefully through this process and hopefully through the impact report, which I think we plan on sending it out to anyone who wants to read it, but especially the companies that were involved, that you'll see how great your impact is. And it really just shows that even the smallest steps that you take or those initiatives you decide to take on, those don't fall away or go to the wayside whenever your focus has to go back to focusing on your operations. They're still so important and they make a huge impact, and just really thankful for all of the companies that were involved with this. So Now I think I'm actually going to turn it over to the founder and CEO of Canopy, who's also my boss, Scott Koloms. He's going to talk a little bit more about the 27 Fund and how it's turning into the Community Investment Collective Fund. So,
yeah, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
It's been a long time since I've seen you. We saw each other this morning for a check presentation. But yeah, so the gang did an incredible job with the 27 campaign, both on the educational leg of it. Alex and El Shaddai created an incredible resource guide for folks that want to learn how to think about DE&I in their own businesses. And then, of course, on the other side, getting 26 companies to volunteer to commit to looking at their own policies and procedures and making a public statement. And then, of course, being willing to make $1,000 donation to the fund. So, the exciting thing with the fund is this year I happen to be on the Bingham Fellows team, and we pitched the idea of creating a sustainable fund in Louisville for Black-owned businesses across the community. And fortunately, at this point, it's one of the 4 projects that got taken up in the Bingham Fellows class this year. And what we're doing is we're creating what we're calling a Community Investment Collective Fund. And it really has a couple of purposes. The driving purpose is to provide access to capital for Black-owned business owners, whereas there's been difficulty oftentimes for minority-owned, Black-owned businesses to gain access to capital to either start up a business or to help a business grow. So one of the intentions of the fund is to create an alternative path that breaks down barriers to allow Black businesses the opportunity to gain access to capital to help grow their businesses. And so that piece is the driving force behind it. But also what makes the work we're doing important too is the plan, the intention, and it's beyond an intention, it's what has to happen. The fund is going to utilize folks from the communities where the businesses are to make the ultimate decisions around how their money is distributed. So it's sort of breaking down traditional models of capital distribution. It's utilizing the folks in the neighborhoods, the folks that are around where these businesses are, to determine who gets the money. And ultimately, we feel like that's going to increase the likelihood of a business succeeding when people in the neighborhood and people in the communities where those businesses are have agency in selecting where the capital goes. Another big piece of the Community Investment Collective Fund is that on the back end, once financing, once capital is distributed to a business, it really just begins there, in that we're creating a strong network of professional supporters, be it law firms or CPA firms or marketing firms or branding firms or consultants, to offer heavily discounted or completely free services for the businesses that end up receiving capital. So again, the idea is that it doesn't end with the capital distribution, it really begins. And the aim is to increase the likelihood of sustainable success for these businesses in their neighborhoods and in their communities. I like to think of it as, for me, as an investor who's interested and cares and wants to invest in different spaces in our communities, but doesn't know how and doesn't know where to begin, doesn't know how to do the vetting and how to make determinations. The Community Investment Collective is going to be a very useful tool for like-minded investors that are interested in impact investing in our community. So we're very excited about this, and Canopy's work is going to be the seed fund to begin. And our goal is to create a sustainable fund. We're not interested in creating something that's going to last 6 months and we're going to distribute some funds. We're interested in creating something that's going to last for 200 years. we're interested in something that's going to be sustainable in our community and grow with our community. So that's the exciting work that Canopy helped fuel, helped seed. And of course, we'll be involved with the process as it moves along. But we're really proud of our work, and I'm really proud of the team, and really honored for all the folks and businesses that came along to help our efforts today. Thanks to everyone who's participating. It's an important time, and businesses are a fundamental component, the driver, at least part of the driver, of the changes that we need to see in America. And it's exciting for me to see some of the discussions that are going on, and the considerations, and I mean, honestly, part of it too is the talking through the hard things, and creating spaces where that can occur so that we can make progress together. So really proud of the team. Happy to be here. Thanks for watching today.